Hello and welcome to Section 2 AWS IAM Identity and Access Management. The first lecture is about IAM Overview, that is what and why of IAM. So what is IAM? Let us try to understand IAM with an analogy. Here's a data center. Suppose you are visiting this data center as your guest. Will you be able to perform any action over there? Obviously, no. Now, assume there are 50 employees in this data center. Do all the employees have the privilege to access the area where server, systems, etc. are stationed? Obviously, no. So, activities within the data center is highly restricted as much as possible. Operations staffs, system admins, service managers, data center coordinators, etc. are various roles, and access is provided based on their respective roles. Similarly, your AWS account users must have certain restrictions. Who can enter inside your AWS account and what action he or she can perform over there, and on which resources, services. We can easily define this and control it via IAM, which is an AWS service. These three words can easily define IAM. Who is allowed to enter inside your AWS account? Users, groups, roles. What stands for what actions she is allowed to perform over there. It can be like she is only allowed to view the resources and services in your account without performing any action. A few users can have advanced privileges like administrative privileges as well. Then comes the which part. This defines the resources which are allowed to be accessed by the user, group or roles. Example of resources are EC2 instance, that is your virtual server, S3 simple storage service, RDS, that is relational database service. Conditions. Conditions are optional. It could be like a user is allowed to access a specific resource but only if she fulfills certain conditions. Example, an employee who has resigned and is serving notice period can be allowed to access resources only till his last working day in the company and only from the company network or IP. What is IAM? This is the official definition. IAM enables you to manage users to access AWS services and resources securely via users, groups, roles and policies. IAM is global service. You can't restrict it based on a region. Always remember this. IAM is absolutely free. The resources used by users are charged. So, IAM itself is free, but the resources which are used by the users, groups or roles, they are charged. This is a bit obvious. Here's how IAM is represented through this image. This is the official image. Now let us see why IAM. You can create and manage AWS users, groups and use permissions to allow or deny their access to AWS resources. You can have fine-grained access control via AWS console or integrate it with your corporate directory. Permissions let you specify access to AWS resources. Permissions are granted to IAM entities, users, groups or roles, and by default these entities start with no permissions. Remember this. By default these entities starts with no permissions. In other words, IAM entities can do nothing in AWS until you grant them your desired permissions. To give entities permissions, you can attach a policy that specifies the type of access, the actions that can be performed, and the resources on which the actions can be performed. IAM key terminologies. Users, individual users. It's like the same we have in other accounts. A user can be added to a group or can stay without a group. Groups, a collection of IAM users with similar set of requirements. Easier to manage permissions with groups. So the users who have a similar set of requirements, for example, developers, all the developers have similar set of requirements, so they can be placed in one group. People related with accounts and finance can be placed in another group. HR and HR managers, etc. can be placed in a separate group named HR, for example. So it's easier to manage users using groups. It's basically a categorization of users. Permissions or policies. They are used to grant privileges. MFA, multi-factor authentication. This is for account security. We will see this later on. Roles. An IAM entity that defines a set of permissions for making AWS service requests. We will also check this. Root account. The email ID that is used to sign up AWS account. It has unrestricted access to your AWS account. So the email ID which you have used to register for AWS account is known as root account. Now in the next lecture we will see how to add IAM user and group. So for that to achieve, you have to log into AWS console, select IAM service, and then provide username, password of that user. It can be auto generated password as well. Add your user to a new or existing IAM group. So we will see this hands-on, but I am just giving you a heads up so that you will be comfortable with what's going on over there. A permission via a policy can be added directly to the user, or alternatively a policy can be added to a group. So policy or permissions can be added directly to the user or to a group. Any user in that group will have the permission sets based on the policy attached to the group. So all the users in a group will have exactly same kind of permission. So we will, to summarize how this add new user lab will work, let us see. We'll go to AWS console and then IAM service, and then to add users, this is add user. Then we'll create a group. If we already don't have the required group, then we can assign user or users to group. See, I have written user and S in brackets because you can create a single user or you can create multiple users through the same interface at the same point of time. So the third step is to assign users or user to a group. Then we can create policy, then assign that policy to a group or to a user. And finally, the user can access AWS console based on his whatever has been authorized for him. So thank you and see you in the next lecture.